Mia had always loved antiques, but nothing had prepared her for the doll she found in the attic of her new home. It sat there, frozen in time, its glassy eyes staring as if it knew her secrets. Little did she know, this was no ordinary doll, and tonight it would show her exactly that. As she moved closer, a shiver ran down her spine. Something about the doll felt alive. She shook off the feeling, convincing herself it was just the old house settling. But deep down, she knew something was watching. She felt a cold draft brush past her neck. A whisper, almost inaudible, seemed to come from nowhere. "It's just the wind," she told herself. But the doll's eyes seemed to glimmer with a secret only it knew. Mia turned away for a moment, and when she looked back, the doll was no longer on the shelf. It lay on the floor, perfectly upright. Her heart raced. She hadn't moved it, had she? Her mind screamed that she was imagining things, yet every time she blinked, the doll seemed to shift, ever so slightly. Mia's breath quickened. Was the doll moving on its own, or was she losing her mind? Mia froze in disbelief. The doll's head had turned, facing her directly. She hadn't touched it. Her hands trembled. A single thought ran through her mind. This isn't possible. Every step she took, the air grew colder. The doll, it was on the stairs. How had it moved? Her heart pounded. Mia wanted to run, but curiosity anchored her to the spot. Mia's eyes caught the doll's reflection in the mirror. It wasn't just sitting. It was staring, almost waiting. Something told her this house held secrets, and the doll, it was only the beginning. She climbed the attic stairs, heart pounding. The doll stood near an old trunk, as if it had been waiting. A shiver ran through her. Every instinct screamed to leave, but she couldn't turn away. She had to know. Mia stepped closer, trembling. Who put you here?" she whispered. The doll didn't answer, but its eyes seemed to glint knowingly, as if mocking her. The attic grew colder. Something unseen pressed against her mind, whispering, "I'm not just a toy." Mia's fingers brushed the leather-bound diary beside the doll. The pages were yellowed with age, scrawled with strange symbols. She flipped one open, and her blood ran cold. The diary spoke of a doll that could move on its own, controlled by something unseen. As she read, the doll slowly leaned forward. It wasn't supposed to move, but it did. Her heart raced. The diary warned of a presence that could guide it. She swallowed hard, realizing she was no longer just an observer. She was being watched. Mia moved cautiously down the hallway. A shadow flickered. The doll appeared at the corner, perfectly still, until it wasn't. She could swear it had moved closer. Each step she took, the doll mirrored her, never letting her out of its gaze. Back in her bedroom, Mia felt the walls closing in. The doll sat on her bed, waiting. Its gaze pierced her mind, a silent command she couldn't resist. She shivered, realizing the house and the doll was controlling more than just space. It was controlling her fear. Mia backed away, her eyes fixed on the doll. Its shadow stretched unnaturally across the wall, twisting with intent. Something told her she hadn't discovered the full truth. The doll was more than wood and porcelain. It had a mind, and it was waiting for her next move. Mia's heart thumped as the doll seemed to move closer on its own. She couldn't explain it. Every time she looked away, it inched forward. The house itself seemed alive, breathing through the walls. Fear gripped her, but she was drawn closer, as if something unseen compelled her. She wasn't imagining it. Chairs moved, picture frames tilted, all as if the doll was orchestrating the chaos. A cold sweat ran down her back. The doll wasn't just alive, it was aware. Mia could feel it now, the weight of the doll's presence pressing on her chest. Every shadow seemed alive, every whisper calling her name. She shook her head. She had to stay rational, but the house had other plans. Mia's hands shook as she opened the trunk. The diary lay there, but the doll wasn't on the floor anymore. It was on the trunk, staring at her. She yelped, almost dropping the flashlight. The room felt alive, watching her every move. The doll's shadow stretched across the wall like a dark omen. Mia stumbled back, realizing she hadn't seen its full power yet. Something ancient, something malicious had attached itself to this porcelain toy, and it wasn't done with her. Mia pored over the diary, each page filled with cryptic symbols and chilling accounts. The doll had belonged to a child long gone, but the diary hinted that its presence wasn't innocent. Something had bound itself to the doll, feeding on fear, waiting. A faded photograph showed a young girl clutching the doll, eyes wide with fear. The diary whispered of rituals, of dark intent that had given the doll life. Mia felt a chill. The doll wasn't just moving, it was alive, and it remembered. Returning to her room, Mia felt the walls close in. The doll waited, still and silent, yet she knew in the marrow of her bones that it wasn't still. It was watching, waiting. Every creak, every whisper made her question her own sanity. Books slid off shelves, drawers creaked open on their own. Mia's pulse raced. The doll didn't touch them, but it controlled them. Fear wasn't just her emotion now, it was the doll's tool. The doll's shadow stretched across the room like a predator. The whispers formed words, soft but insistent. Stay with me forever. Mia trembled, realizing the doll wanted more than attention. It wanted her surrender. Mia froze. The doll was no longer on the bed. It was standing, perfectly still, in the middle of the room. Her pulse raced. The whispers had grown louder, more insistent, almost commanding. She realized with horror that it could act on its own, and it wanted her attention. Mia ran for the door, heart pounding. The hallway seemed longer than before, the shadows twisting. And there it was, the doll at the end of the corridor, following silently. Fear rooted her feet, but instinct screamed, "Run!" Mia stumbled into the living room. Objects moved on their own. Doors slammed shut. And there it was, the doll, perched on the table, staring. Its presence filled the room, oppressive and commanding. She realized she wasn't just afraid, she was trapped. Mia flipped through the diary desperately. The symbols described a ritual, one that bound a spirit to the doll, feeding on fear. The doll wasn't alive by chance, it was possessed. And now she was part of its story. The doll's shadow stretched across the room, twisting toward her. The whispers were now clear. "Join me, or stay forever." Mia realized the truth. This was no ordinary doll. It wasn't just moving, it wanted something from her. Something that could change her life or end it. Mia's mind raced. The doll moved silently, always watching, always waiting. Every shadow seemed alive, every whisper a command. She realized fear wasn't just her emotion, it was the doll's power, feeding it, strengthening it. Mia ran to the doors. They slammed shut before she could reach them. The windows rattled violently, and there it was, the doll, perfectly still in the center of the room. She was trapped, alone, and completely at its mercy. And then it spoke. Not a sound from lips, but in her mind. "You're mine now, forever." Mia screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the oppressive presence. The doll wasn't just moving, it was communicating, controlling, claiming. The diary revealed it all. The doll had been bound with a ritual of fear, feeding on terror to gain life. And now, Mia's fear had given it more strength than ever. She was not just a witness, she was part of the ritual. Mia trembled, clutching the diary. The doll's shadow reached for her, not physically, but through her mind. Fear, curiosity, desperation, it all collided. She realized she had a choice, submit or resist. But could she escape the pull of something so ancient, so hungry? The room was alive with shadows, whispers, and wind. The doll's presence filled every corner, pressing into her mind. Mia's pulse pounded. There was no escaping. The doll was here, claiming what it wanted. Fear had never felt so real. Mia raised the diary, hoping its words held some power. The doll advanced, silent but deliberate. Every instinct screamed to run, but something within her resisted. This wasn't just fear, it was a test, and the doll was judging her courage. The diary revealed the final truth. Fear fed the doll, but courage could bind it. Mia's mind raced. She had a choice: surrender to terror or confront it head-on. The doll waited, patient, powerful, and hungry. Mia took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage. "I am not afraid," she whispered. The shadows paused. The whispers faltered. The doll tilted its head, as if surprised, then slowly retreated. For the first time, she felt control, as if her bravery had challenged its power. Morning light spilled into the room, dissolving the shadows. The doll sat silently on the shelf, its power seemingly diminished. Mia's hands shook, but her heart was steady. She had survived. But a chill ran down her spine. Though it no longer moved, she knew its eyes were still watching, waiting for the next fear to feed upon.